Hello, and welcome back to Spectacular Sports, and today I'll be predicting the college football conferences in 10 years. And college football, the landscape is always changing with conferences, new teams, media deals, NIL deals. So I'll just be predicting all of that in 10 years. So let's get started with the Group of 5 conferences, which I put the Pac-12. I feel like you could consider this a power conference, but I put it in a Group of 5. I think they'll just kind of steal everyone from the Mountain West, basically, that isn't already on the roster. San Jose State, UNLV, Utah State. And I think the ACC will kind of crumble for a little bit, so I think they'll steal Cal, Stanford, and SMU, some of the Western teams in the Atlantic Conference, which makes absolutely no sense. But yeah, this is a pretty good conference. Moving on to Conference USA, which is a conference I think will have the most changes. I think Western Kentucky, which is one of their stronger programs, will leave. And I think Jacksonville State, which is a new FBS team, will be on the rise and look for a better conference. So I think they're going to have to look out west to expand. And I think they'll grab 3 FCS teams from the West: Eastern Washington, North Dakota State, and South Dakota State, as well as 2 teams which have an agreement on joining them next college football season to 2025. Delaware State, or just Delaware, I don't know where I got the state from, and Missouri State, that's the state team. And I think they'll also get some Pac-12 leftovers, Wyoming, Air Force, and New Mexico. So New Mexico State in the same conference. And then I think they'll keep some small schools like UTEP, Sam Houston, Louisiana Tech, FIU, Middle Tennessee, Kennesaw State, Liberty. This is a pretty weird conference, spanning from Florida to Washington. But yeah, I think that's what will be the state of the Conference USA in a decade. Moving on to the American Athletic, which is probably the strongest Group of 5 conference right now. I think they'll lose Memphis and Tulane, which are their 2 best schools. And I think also FAU, because I don't think FAU is going to be that good. So I think they'll just lose them. So I think they'll kind of need to get some teams. So I think they'll get Marshall from the Sun Belt, as well as UConn from the Independents, and bring up Florida A&M from the FCS. So it's a pretty bad conference, to be honest, with a lot of mid teams. So yeah, that's why I think the American Athletic is going to be in 10 years. Moving on to the Sun Belt, I think this will be one of the more stable conferences. I do think they'll lose some of their good schools in Texas State and Marshall, but I think they'll make up for it and add Jacksonville State from the previously mentioned Conference USA, as well as Chattanooga, a pretty decently sized FCS team. So in the West, you got Louisiana, ULM, Arkansas State, Southern Miss, South Alabama, Troy, Jacksonville State. And then in the East Division, you have Georgia State, Georgia Southern, Coastal Carolina, App State, Old Dominion, James Madison, and then the new team Chattanooga. So I think the Sun Belt will be pretty stable. I think they're a pretty good conference, so I don't think they'll collapse. And then the last Group of 5 conference is the MAC. I think the MAC is going to be really stable over the next decade. I think they'll get UMass, which I think they agreed to 2026, if I don't mistake myself. And I think they'll get Western Kentucky from the Conference USA. So this is in terms of amount of teams for a Group of 5 conference, this is pretty good. But in terms of how good they are, that's maybe a different story. But the MAC, I think, just will be the same old MAC, but some more teams. And we have the FBS Independents, which I think Nevada and Hawaii are some of the worst FBS teams in terms of play and how big their stadiums are. I think FAU, like, they're just gonna be kicked out of the American, because I think they'll just be really bad at football for the next couple of years. So yeah, that's the new FBS Independents. So as you see, Notre Dame, I think will find a conference, and we already saw UMass and UConn. So now we have the Big 12, and it's interesting. I think they'll keep a lot of the schools that they have. I think they're going to lose some schools towards the east, such as Iowa State, West Virginia, and Oklahoma State. I think West Virginia is going to feel kind of alone because they're kind of in an island with Cincinnati. I think Iowa State's going to move to a bigger conference, which we'll see later. And I think Oklahoma State will also move to, bigger conference. So I think they'll replace them with 3 of the best group of 5 teams: Memphis, Tulane, and Texas State. I mean, they have a lot of teams that were formerly in the American. You got Houston, Tulane, UCF, Memphis, Cincinnati. You keep a lot of rivalries though. I think the Big 12 will be decently stable, but yeah, this is I think going to be a fun conference over the next decade. So now we have the cream of the crop in college football, the SEC. I think they'll keep all the teams they have now. I think they'll expand, adding an official rival for Oklahoma in OSU, and then adding 3 of the ACC's biggest schools, Clemson, Florida State, and Miami, to add to their dominance in Florida and across the East Coast. Yeah, this conference is just gonna thrive. They might have like 6 or 7 of the next 10 national champions, and I feel like that's really realistic, to be honest. I just feel like the SEC is really strong, and I think they're gonna continue that over the next couple of years. And we have the SEC is now a 20-team conference, and so is the Big Ten. I think they'll be less quiet because their big expansion was last season, or this is the first season. They have all the Pacific schools, Washington, Oregon, and the LA schools. I think they'll add Iowa State. I feel like Boston College is going to be randomly add to the kind of weak Eastern branch, other than Penn State, of the conference. I just think this conference is going to be stable, have some deep playoff runs. Ohio State, Michigan, maybe Nebraska. I don't know. I think this Big Ten conference is going to end up being twice as much as their name says, being 20 teams. And the last conference that I'm predicting, last conference I think will exist in 10 years, is the ACC. I think this is going to be a really interesting conference because I think they're going to lose arguably their 3 biggest schools, maybe North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and then I think they'll lose a couple teams to the Pac-12, Cal, Stanford, and SMU, and then also Boston College to the Big Ten. So I think they'll be like really weak, but I feel like I'm just gonna make this up. North Carolina wins like 3 basketball championships in a row, and that makes enough revenue to get more teams, such as West Virginia from the Big 12, and Notre Dame to join as a not only a basketball-only member. So yeah, I think they'll have Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, North Carolina, Duke, NC State, Louisville, Notre Dame, West Virginia schools, West Virginia, Pitt, and Syracuse. So yeah, I think this is going to be the ACC in 10 years. This is kind of a short video, kind of a fun idea. Comment below what you think you'd change. Do you think there's going to be any new conference? Will a conference collapse? Do you think any of the FCS teams I added will not make it to the FBS eventually? Or do you think more teams will? YouTube thinks you'll like this video and subscribe here. Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.